Okay, so in this next video, I'm going to be answering some of your questions. A few weeks ago, I asked you to put your questions to me about the project or about my memories of Kids TV, and I had quite a few sent in actually, so thank you for that. And I'll be answering all of them actually, got quite a few to get through. Well, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through a few things that I'm asked quite regularly that I thought I'd add to the start to this video. So the first thing that I get asked quite a lot is how do I get these ex-Kids TV stars onto the podcast? Very simple, really, just a very polite email. I try and find if they've got a website or if they've got a Twitter account, something like that. Sometimes I try and find their agent if there is one and just ask very politely, can you spare a bit of time to help me? And most of the time, people are happy to help out. Another thing I get asked a lot is where do I get my Art Attack sweatshirt from, the one that you see me in some of the photos on my project. It's just a simple knockoff one really from eBay that I bought for about 20 quid. The real ones that Neil Buchanan wore cost something like £700 because they had to be made out of a special fabric apparently because red strobe's on camera. So it's not an original. Another thing that I get asked a lot is will I upload old VHS footage to YouTube or do trades? And the answer to that is no, it's just not something I'm really interested in. The Jack's Throwback Attack channel is just going to be for stuff that I've created, my podcasts, various look back videos and some of these vlog style things as well. Because, years ago I used to upload bits and pieces to YouTube, but I just generally don't have the time for it these days. I don't really have anything special anyway that isn't already out there, and I got tired of people sending me demands and requests all the time, and yeah, it's just not something I'm really into anymore, sorry. Another thing I get asked a lot is who's going to be on the podcast, or is such and such going to be on the podcast? I'm afraid I'm not going to give that information out. I've not done that on any of the previous series. For most people, you just find out when I reveal the names a couple of weeks before the podcast is due out. So, please stop messaging me who's going to be on it next, because I'm not going to tell you, sorry. I like to keep it a surprise. It's fun that way. Right then, so it's time for your questions. So the first one is, it's two actually, from UK Press. Check out what they do on Twitter. They upload some great stuff, various old continuity and idents from VHS recordings. The first thing they asked was, where do you think the decline in original kids programming stems from, and do you believe it can be fully restored? Very good question. I guess the dawn of satellite television didn't help because the audience was more thinly spread out. And although it was a necessary thing, the banning of junk food ads as well didn't help because that cut a lot of the budgets for the kids' TV shows. But at the same time, you know, you've got to manage people's health. It's very important. Can it be fully restored? I certainly think so, and I think there are people out there still doing a good job. I think CBBC does some good stuff, as does CBeebies. So yeah, I think it's possible. UK Press also asked, who is the one person you would like to get on your podcast but can't? Neil Buchanan's always been the one that I've really wanted. I've been trying since day one, really. Who knows what will happen with that one? Matthew Corbett as well would be good, but I do know he hasn't been well recently and he has moved to a retirement village, so I don't know if that will ever happen. Half Brick VHS has messaged me. Thank you very much. Good friend of mine. Check out his YouTube channel and Twitter account. And he asked, what was your favourite Saturday morning kids show and why? Very good question. It has to be Dick and Dom in the Bungalow. I loved SMTV Live as well, but Dick and Dom in the Bungalow really catered to my love of surreal, bizarre humour. And there was just nothing like it on air at the time, and there's been nothing since. It just really catered to my sense of humour. It's quite surreal and bizarre at times. And I love anything that just features people chucking guns around and being silly. So, yep, absolutely love that show. Next up, Hamid Ul Haq, I hope I pronounced that okay, asked, I was wondering what your favourite highlight of CBBC is, and what did you like about coming home to it from school every weekday afternoon, and what were your favourite CBBC shows? That's a good question as well, because I actually tend to talk more about CITV. I did watch CBBC as well, although not as much, or at least not as much at first. I was definitely more heavily a CITV person, but then my allegiance kind of shifted as I got older. especially with the CBBC channel, which aired 12 hours a day. Memories of watching that. Absolutely loved watching Chucklevision. Brilliant show. Bodger and Badger as well was another favourite. And Get Your Own Back were some favourites of mine. LJ Merrick Productions has asked a few questions. First one is, who is your favourite Jungle Run presenter? I remember watching all three, actually, but I'd say Michael Underwood was the best. And what was your favourite CITV cartoon? And he's put, mine was Grizzly Tales. I'd have to say, actually, good choice. So that one was my favourite as well. Also, they've asked, do you think they should bring back the CITV InVision links? They still do them on CBBC. Absolutely. That was my era of CITV, the era of Stephen and Danielle, and it was all done from Gas Street in Birmingham. Yeah, I certainly think they should bring it back. I mean, it's just so much better than the Outer Vision stuff. Really. James Knight suggested a list of potential interviewees. Yeah, I'm always happy for people to suggest people for me to interview. I can't promise that I will, but I'm always happy to hear people's suggestions. Tom Mason has asked, where do you get your VHS from? I imagine they're probably referring to the video I did where I look back at some old videos. I bought them when they were new. Some of them come from Asda, Woolworths, some come from Sainsbury's. The majority of the VHS tapes that I still own of commercial releases of old kid shows were bought at the time that they were brand new. And I've had them for 20 plus years. Parker Productions, do you have any memories watching Thomas the Tank Engine on CITV, and which episodes stick out in your mind for you personally? I loved watching Thomas the Tank Engine when I was very small, about the age of 3 or 4. And I remember having a Thomas the Tank Engine umbrella, some of the videos, a bag. And I remember going to see Thomas at the Severn Valley Railway, I think it was called. But I got to about the age of 5 and actually stopped watching it completely. And I have to admit, I've not seen an episode since. And I can't remember any specific episodes, so sorry about that. Matt Alex Best Fan asked, what was the first show you remember watching on CITV in your childhood? The first show I remember watching is Zap. That is actually my earliest TV memory, full stop, is watching Zap. There's a couple of scenes that stick into my mind, including the first series, which originally was broadcast in '93, which was a little bit before I was born. But they repeated it a few years later, and I remember watching that rerun, and there's a couple of various bits from episodes later on that I remember as well. So, yeah, definitely Zap is my earliest memory of TV, full stop. I've had a few questions as well from Jonah Ripley. The first one is, who is one of the most memorable TV presenters to you, and why, and which one do you idolise? Well, it's difficult to pick one, really, but I'd have to say Neil Buchanan, because I just loved his shows. I think he created some wonderful stuff. Zap, Art Attack, It's a Mystery were all big favourites of mine. They were really creative, colourful, very memorable as well. And he was just such a good presenter. He just come across as so warm and gentle, and he explained everything well when he was making stuff. And I have to say as well, I know it said one, but I've got to mention Mark Spate as well, the late great Mark Spate, who did Smart. I loved watching Smart as well, and I think that Mark was just the perfect kids TV presenter. He had that lovely, wonderful energy, and he just seemed to really enjoy what he did, and I do miss seeing him on the television. He also asked, how do you feel about current children's programming? How different is it to today? I'm not sure if I'm really qualified to talk about that, really, because I haven't really watched any kids' TV for a very long time. I mean, from the bits I've seen, it is very different, very heavily reliant on CGI, which I think is a bit of a shame. And I guess the big budgets aren't there anymore that were about when we were kids, so that's a shame as well. But like I say, there are still some people doing some good stuff. CBBC, CBeebies, even Ragdoll Productions still going strong as well, doing some good stuff that I've seen recently. Next up, we got one from Shell O'Reilly, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and they've asked, are there any other people who have not gotten back to you? I mean, there are a few people, yes, but I'm not going to name them because I don't know the reasons. They might be busy, they might have things going on in their lives, or maybe they just don't want to, and I respect their decision on that. Oh, Look a Squirrel asked, do you have fond memories of Robot Wars? Yes, I do. I loved watching that on Tea Times. BBC Two, wasn't it? Back in the days of when they used to show stuff like that, and Malcolm in the Middle, Fresh Prince, Top of the Pops 2. Good stuff. I didn't watch any of the reboot, though, I'm afraid. They've also asked who would be a dream guest. Be Neil Buchanan, I've answered that already. The Little Dragon asked, would you do a podcast on Anne Wood, the founder of Ragdoll Productions? Yeah, I'd love to. I loved Ragdoll stuff growing up. Rosie and Jim, Tots TV, Brum, all big shows that I watched quite a lot back in the day. So yeah, certainly one I could add to the list. Bang Average Gamer has asked, is there a way to contact the original Daisy Dares You? I mean, if there is, I don't know about it. And if I did, it wouldn't be something I'd publicise because, at the end of the day, maybe they want to be left in peace. I guess with some people, they appear in television and then they go on to do different things. And maybe they just don't want to be contacted or found. And, that's up to them. And I respect that decision. And finally, Gumball and Friends Productions has asked, can you have Dave Chapman on your show? He's a puppeteer. He did stuff like Otis the Aardvark, and also Robin Stevens, who, of course, was part of Ragdoll, did Jim in Rosie and Jim, Tom in Tots TV, and was Pob as well. Yep, 2 good suggestions there. You never know, they may pop up in the future. Well, that's all of your questions answered. Thank you for those of you that sent questions in. If I've missed any out, I do apologise, but I think I've answered all of them. And maybe I'll do another Q&A video very soon. But like I say, thank you for supporting the channel and look out for more content coming up very soon.